this is Sean Payton, head coach of the New Orleans Saints. What's with this Saints Happy Cast? This has to be the worst Saints podcast in the world. Ralph can't say anyone's name right. Andrew doesn't know football. Everyone has a hard time listening to Dave. And is Kevin even there tonight? The audio with this podcast, my God, the audio, it's painful.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Saints Happy Hour podcast. Thanks for joining us on a Sunday night. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers listening out there on the live stream or later in the week. Andrew, how was your Mother's Day today?
It was really pleasant, man. I had a great day. Probably one of the best days since the beginning of the quarantine. So that was good. But I will say this is all despite me kind of blowing it and not realizing that Mother's Day was today until Friday. I had someone mention Mother's Day to me on Friday, and I was just like, holy shit, Mother's Day is in 2 days. I had no idea. And so I was able to kind of raggle together flowers, and I've got a king cake coming tomorrow, so that's a day late. My wife loves king cake. But otherwise, like on the present front, I kind of blew it. But on like the family enjoyment, hanging out, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, the trouble
How
for
was
me,
yours?
mine was great. The thing that was so enjoyable about this Mother's Day is with coronavirus, we didn't have to worry about like trying to get a restaurant reservations, which we don't do a lot of, but like we didn't have to worry about that. It was just like, hey, she goes to her parents' house all the time because she helps care for my brother-in-law. And so her parents go nowhere, so it was fine that they came over. So they just came over. We bought a ham, I cooked some sides. It was fantastic. And I got my hair cut. My father-in-law broke out the clippers, did a fantastic job considering, I believe. I don't have a picture. My wife took a picture on her phone. And
my wife.
Sally, would you say my haircut is satisfactory? She nods. Her dad does a good job. He cuts my son's hair, so it worked out well. So Mother's Day was great. I have to say, I asked a Twitter question for people. I said to them, Andrew, I said, describe your physical appearance as if you were a Saints corner 55 days into the quarantine, and people are tweeting me pictures of Jason David and Fred Thomas and Mike McKenzie.
I got a good answer for this, but before we go there, I do have a funny story about haircuts. So my wife just gave my son a haircut, and we don't have clippers, and she's not exactly she's not what your father-in-law sounds like. You know, she doesn't do haircuts. So I don't know if I should be sharing this publicly, but we don't have clippers. So the mailing that we got from our Manscaped from months ago. Well, I haven't been using it, but she used the lawnmower to trim his hair.
Oh no. That sounds like that is as questionable a call as giving Nick Fairley a 4-year contract extension if Dave was here.
Yes, it's on the same plane for sure.
I mean, that's a tough call. So, by the way, people, I just want to say that you should sign up and become a $10 patron because you get the podcast every day. It's awesome, and you get Andrew's write-ups. You get access to the Discord channel and everything. But we created a new tier where if you sign up and become a $20 a month patron, you can rant on our Saints Happy Hour hotline, and we will create a custom video for your rant like we did for Dave's Christmas rant last week, and you can share it on your social media with your friends, your family, and everybody. And it's amazing the headliner tool that I have now to make these videos. So if you become a $20 a month patron, you get to do a custom rant. We'll make a video for you. It's amazing. Consider it. I'm having super amounts of fun with the headliner. Speaking of rants and Christmas games, there's Dave. Dave, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Sorry I'm late. Just putting my son to bed and having a heart-to-heart about men and women and how you treat women.
Whoa.
Did he smack his sister in the mouth?
Yeah, was there violence or?
No, no, he just doesn't think it's, sometimes it's just not fair. Like, I don't know, women get to go first or that, that kind of stuff. You just,
Teaching chivalry, parent of the year,
yeah,
Dave.
right. I felt it was important. I needed to stay locked into that conversation instead of leaving it early and getting on the podcast.
Yeah. So Dave, I asked the people on Twitter. I said we're 55 plus days into quarantine.
Yeah. My cornerback. It's Brandon Browner because it's a fucking disaster. Got it. That's my answer.
I feel
I was thinking maybe it's Delvin Bro. Some days it's good, some days it's bad. Some days you lose the ball on the lights in the Superdome and you have no idea what's going on. Some days you got tight coverage on a guy on a seam route.
I was thinking at first it was going to be Jason David, where it'd be full of promise, but it went badly very quickly. But then I settled on Fred Thomas. Like, it was okay, and it was okay. It was bumpy. Had some peaks in there, but now it is totally, completely off the rails.
Hey, Fred Thomas hanging in there with a bad hand.
Yeah,
so that's actually a great analogy for you.
It is a great analogy, but at the end, man, poor Fred Thomas. It was a disaster, and a lot of Saints fans hated him, but a lot of people just felt bad for him, and I feel like that's where I am in the quarantine. They just see me out, and they're just like, "Oh, that poor man."
I would personally go with Ken Crawley, just because expectations very low. And then kind of out of nowhere, like on the outside, it looks like I'm fine. I'm 6 foot. I've got the height, the weight, the speed. Like, I should be good. And like, things should be okay. On the outside, things appear fine. But on the inside, I'm a shell of a broken man. I have no confidence. My psychology is shot. And, there might be like a little bit of promise. It looks like I am deserving of being a starter, and then it all falls apart.
Yeah. I have to say, I feel like this quarantine, that the fact that they're talking about like it's not going to blow over, and it seems endless. So that makes me care less even about my physical appearance. So I'm starting to gain all that quarantine weight that people are talking about. I eat reckless. I'm staying up till 1 a.m. It's not good times in the Marlboro house, Dave. It's not.
Yeah. It wasn't a question, but I'm sure I haven't stepped on a scale in months, and I would be nervous too. I don't think if I went to see my doctor right now, I don't think he would be very happy with me in the slightest.
Are you pounding Twizzlers and gummy bears to deal with the stress, Dave?
It's not so much the I've been pretty good with the candy. The booze has just totally gotten out of control.
And the edibles.
And during the week. During the week I work, and so I won't get home till 3 or something or 4, and even then I'll wait a little bit and maybe even wait till the kids go to bed, before I have a drink or something like that. But on the weekends it's freaking no holds barred, starting at 2 p.m. and eating. And as far as eating is concerned, though, it's Italian meats. It's salami and prosciutto. That's what's really killing me here.
Somebody
Italian
said
meats.
in this Jarris Bird as your quarantine cornerback / defensive back. No, because Jarris Bird, there was so much promise at the beginning. There was no excitement at the beginning of the shutdown of the quarantine. It was all just like, maybe we'll get through this. But Andrew, Dave brought up an interesting point about not wanting to step on a scale. Everybody's gaining weight. We're not healthy, which brings us into our one actual Saints topic that we're going to discuss tonight. Larry Warford, he got a little fat. He started to decline. The Saints released him on a Friday, We talked about it in a breaking news podcast. You should subscribe, become a $7 a month patron, become $10 a month patron, get Crew to Taysom Cup. It's awesome. You have access to everything. We talked about it breaking news. The thing about my only thing with Warford is we can get into how he played in a second, but I was surprised that they did it now in the sense of I wish they would have waited just because if injuries happened or different things, like I like to have the depth of Larry Warford, even though he didn't play great last year.
Yeah, well, I was talking to who said this to me, Nick Underhill, and he made a good point. And his view was, if all of a sudden Larry Warford is a backup and he's not happy about it and he's complaining and he's gets even more overweight, he's showing bad habits, you got to get that out of the locker room. So I know the Saints were unhappy with him, they were unhappy with his weight, and so I know that led to some disagreements between the player and the staff, and so I know that there was, I want to say bad blood, but there was frustration from both sides, and it wasn't at a great place from a relationship standpoint, from what I heard. And so I think, yeah, you draft his replacement, you got to get him out of there. And so I think that's what that boils down to.
I'm just kind of surprised. I mean, like when we signed him, he was like the number 2 guy, right? He was like the second best guard available. That was the year they went for whoever it was. They didn't get him, and so they signed Warford instead.
Yep.
So seems like a very high, long fall from grace here. I mean, seems like it's really been downhill pretty quickly for Warford, from going from the second best available free agent one off season to being cut.
Well, he was a Pro Bowler too, yeah.
Yeah. So
and that's
what's going on with that?
That's a good point, Dave. Because his first 2 years, I mean, it was exemplary, and we'll get to it in a second. I think it was still a great signing by the Saints, but that's a good point, Andrew, because going into last year, like there was no question about was Warford a good signing? Will they keep him? Will they have to there was none of that.
Yeah, he was totally solid. He was like Mr. Dependable. Like he was just a lock at his position.
I think the thing about Warford is he was always really slow. Like he was always slow. So the thing that you tolerated, the fact that he wasn't a guy that was going to be able to pull and maybe make big plays in the screen game or downfield, you tolerated that because he was so thick that he had great push on the interior.
Ass and mass, baby.
Yep, and great one-on-one in matchups when he's right physically. And so, if he was dealing with a powerful player on the interior, he could handle it. And so when he got even slower because he was fat and he was out of shape and he was losing his one-on-one battles, especially in the 2-minute drill, which I talked about at length many times on the show, I think the tolerance starts to wane because it's like, well, if you can't even do the stuff that you're really good at, which is why we tolerate that maybe you're not as good at other stuff, then shoot, let's go out and get a guy that can actually play on the perimeter. And so that this move in drafting Ruiz was all about getting faster. And I've long said that I think Ruiz is destined to be the center. I think they'll move McCoy over to guard because he's ridiculously fast and runs a sub 540. It's too bad. I mean, I liked Larry Warford. He had a big interest in music, and he was big on Frenchman Street and playing jazz there. And so I think he fit well. Yeah. I think he fit well in the community, and he was a terrific signing. And so it's always sad to see guys like that go.
I never heard that about him playing music.
Yeah, I mean, as far as
multiple instruments, like he's a guitar player, a drummer.
That's cool.
Yeah,
as far as free agent signings go, I mean, it's not Drew Brees because nobody can match the just perfection, right? And maybe not DeMario Davis because they're going to extend him. But, it's definitely, Dave, that third tier of free agency where it was a really good signing, and I don't think the Saints have any regrets about doing it.
No, absolutely not. No. I think it's the history books have now been written, and 10 years from now, looking back on it, I think it'll be looked upon favorably.
And it was one, and Andrew, it was one of my favorite kind of Saints signings where they went as far as they could to get Zeitler, and Cleveland just outbid
Zeitler,
them.
yeah, that was the other guy.
And then literally like 15 minutes later, it came across. They're like, they're signing Warford. It's done. They got to go.
So what's up with Zeitler now?
Zeitler plays for the Giants. He got traded. He was
he's on his second team after that deal, but he's still a good player.
He's still good, but the thing is, he's good, but he's not top 3 guard money good. And the Saints got Warford for like half what Zeitler got guaranteed.
Much better value.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where, you talked about it the other day, I think a couple podcasts ago, where like the Saints were lucky as hell that they didn't draft Reuben Foster and they got Ramczyk instead, just because of straight luck, because San Francisco jumped them and drafted him and they picked Ramczyk. Same thing with Warford. Like, they could have had more money. They could have invested more money in Zeitler, and they probably got the same thing out of Warford for half the price. And that was just straight luck. I mean, Zeitler could have said, "Oh, sure, I'll take your offer, Saints," and it's a little bit less than Cleveland, or maybe Cleveland wouldn't have gone as far. So it's sometimes, man, it ain't skill.
It's almost like wanting to draft a guy 100 places earlier, and nobody answers your phone calls, and so you just wind up drafting him 100 paces later.
It's true.
Jesus Christ. You could make an argument the Saints' best moves were, despite their effort, all the best shit that's happened to them was because somebody else fucked them what they wanted to do, and so they wound up getting the second choice, and it wound up being the better choice.
Yeah. Can you imagine what things would have looked like if they had missed out on Jairus Byrd because someone outbid them, and then they were like, "Well, I guess we'll take Malcolm Jenkins back." Yeah, I guess we got to settle for taking Malcolm Jenkins back.
That was the one time where they fucking won, and that's what happens. It fucked us.
Or the biggest what if in the Sean Payton era, I think, is what if they would have talked Josh Norman out of signing with the Redskins, and he just signed with the Saints in 2016.
The Saints are basically Kramer. They basically just fall ass backwards into mostly. They just luck themselves into good roster decisions against their better judgment.
Or another one, hashtag System Corner. They were probably totally willing to give New England back the 32nd pick to get Malcolm Butler, but Lattimore falls to him, and they're like, we drafted Lattimore in New England. We're done with Malcolm Butler. Keep him, right?
Well, the whole Zach Bond thing is another example of that, where I think, and I learned this after the draft, but apparently the Saints were treating the draft like free agency, and they had come in, they decided Ruiz and Bond, those are our guys. We're going to go get them. We're going to do whatever it takes to get out of this draft with those two guys. That's who we want. Apparently, from the very beginning, those were their two guys, is what I heard. And so they were shocked that they were able to actually leave and get a third guy in the tight end, Troutman, because they were trying so hard to give up all their picks to go get Bond. And everyone was like, nah, we don't want that. We like our pick. We're going to take this. And so they kept falling further and further down, and they just got to a point where they didn't have to give up everything to get Bond.
So they're like, we got all these picks left. Fuck it. Let's go get a tight end. That is so Saints. That is as Loomis can be.
But that's when it hit me, like, the draft isn't the draft for the Saints. It's free agency.
Yeah. I mean,
know what I'm saying? Like they're just like, this is the guy we want. We're gonna go get him.
Yeah. Because they view that they don't view their roster as having a ton of needs. They view their roster as we just need a piece here, a piece there. So they don't care about best available or getting a quantity of 8 to 10 dudes. They just lock in and went and got it. And they sort of tricked us because They fell into Ruiz by accident, and it lulled us into a sense of false security that they were still going to be super reckless in the draft. Is that fair, Dave?
Yeah. What? You don't think that they were super reckless in the draft?
I don't think they were, but I
they
think
wanted to be more reckless.
they wanted to be.
Jesus Christ.
They went mini Ditka, and they wanted to go full Ditka.
Yeah. Like
Oh
that
my
they
God.
that
Jesus
they
Christ.
got both players they wanted and the highest rated tight end on their board, and they're still going to have a draft pick in the first 4 rounds in 2021 is just maybe the biggest
Chef's kiss.
miracle
Chef's
of the
kiss.
last 5 years.
Yeah, and look, we're just 3 idiots, so whatever. But it should worry you a little bit that the Saints were begging NFL teams to take their draft capital, and everyone was saying no.
No.
And 40 picks later, Zach Bond is still sitting there available, and the Saints realize, holy shit, we don't have to give all this stuff up
What?
because no one else wants this guy.
Well, the thing is, it's like teams just didn't want I guess teams felt like the Saints 2021 second round pick just wasn't enough, right? Like what I want to know. And this is where
But the point is, the Saints felt like they had to be more aggressive to go get him.
yeah, and the
And
teams kept telling them
obviously
no.
Every other team didn't value him as highly.
Right. So how off is our scouting department?
Well, how
Well, either that or they know something 31 other teams don't.
I want to know
Well,
what
we'll
the Saints
find out, I
offered
guess.
that teams said no to. That's what I want. Nick, if you listen to this podcast later, I know Nick is a supporter of the show. Thank you, Nick. Tell us, DM me, text me. I want to know what the Saints gave up. Put it on the Twitters. I want to know what the Saints gave up. Wanted to give up to get Bond. I think maybe. I wonder if they went like a 2021 second and a 2021 third, and teams still said no to them. No.
Surprising. I'm surprised that
The biggest surprise to me is that Loomis admitted after they drafted Bond that they would have given up more
Yeah.
to get him. It's just like, even if that's true, why would you say that?
I don't, cause Loomis don't give a fuck. He is what he is, man, and The thing is though, and this is the scary part, and we talked about this on right after the draft is I think Ruiz and either Bond or Troutman, one of them
going to be awesome.
One of them is going to work out.
Probably going to be great. Yeah.
And here's the thing, like the Saints.
But here's the thing, Ralph. Like when you're 26-6, you can say shit like that because it doesn't matter because you have ultimate job security. And if these guys work out, then it doesn't matter what you say because you're a genius. But when you're the Washington Redskins or you're 6-10 or 7, you cannot get away with saying shit like that.
No, they had the coaches ranking. Sean Payton was ranked the second, the number 3 coach behind Bill Belichick was 1, Andy Reid was 2, Sean Payton was 3, and some blogs coaching rankings. I think it was Bleacher Report. Fair, but
Andy Reid, that's questionable. You could, I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean,
I don't know. He's won a Super Bowl more recently. Recency bias, I guess.
Shit, you give Patrick Mahomes to Sean Payton, I think he'd be doing just fine.
Yeah.
True. So, I wanted to revisit a topic that we did a little bit last week, but we didn't explore the space enough. Is that we were talking about, teams are designing their stadiums for the fall in the event of, hey, we might only have 15 or 20,000 fans in the stadium. And Andrew brought up the point of, hey, if they're only going to allow 25,000 people in the dome, you need to not only pass the temperature check to make sure you don't have the Rona, you need to pass some sort of test, lie detector, or a quiz to prove that you are a Saints diehard. We don't want any of these fair weather, I'm going to wear a Peyton Manning Broncos jersey to a Saints game. We don't want any of those kind of yahoos in the stadium if it's only going to be 20,000 people. So individually, we were thinking
he wants you to be hooked up. He wants you to be hooked up to a machine, and then they're going to tell you statements, and if it makes your blood boil, then it's going to set the machine off, and then we'll know if you're a real fan or not.
Yeah, after the show last week, we decided that for Dave, one of the things involved would have to be Nick Fairley to get your blood to boil. But I was
Kobe Fleener.
Kobe Fleener. Andrew, what would be like an obscure Saints thing that they might show up if they're like giving you a lie detector test? They just should like show you the picture and get your heart rate. What would be like a random thing they could show you that would get your heart rate up that would prove that you are a Saints diehard lunatic?
Maybe Rob Ryan and Sean Payton screaming at each other on the sideline. or just a picture of Albert Connell, like just his headshot.
Albert Connell. They could show me a picture of Orlando Ruff was a random Jim Haslett linebacker signing, and I would get so mad because I was so excited about him. I talked myself into Orlando Ruff. Or this one goes me back to my youth. Back when the Saints in the Mora era, they signed Brad Muster, the fullback from the Bears.
Yeah, he was garbage.
And he was complete and utter garbage. And I bought a Brad Muster jersey T-shirt in my youth.
It serves you right.
It does. It serves me right.
They made those jerseys? I've never even heard of that guy.
It wasn't a jersey. It was like a T-shirt. It was like I think it was. I think my mom had it made for me. It was like a T-shirt that looked kind of like a jersey with his number and his name.
I mean, he was a Pro Bowl fullback.
Not with the Saints. He was not.
With the Bears, he played with Neil Anderson in the same backfield, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember Brad Muster, and yeah, he was a big bust. You know, we all have, and I feel like 80% of Saints fans, it's Jason David. We all have our player that just the mere mention of his name makes your blood boil. And one guy for me that was always that, and this is really random and weird because he barely even played for the Saints, but I had this irrational hatred for Doug Nussmeier. I just thought he was the worst quarterback I had ever watched in my life. And I noticed that LSU just signed his son to play for them. I noticed he just committed to LSU, so I was like, oh God, I've got to watch another Nussmeier play quarterback.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Nussmeier was when the Saints played Seattle in 1997, Ditka's first year. They were having all the quarterback issues, of course, because that was after the Heath Schuler experiment was, of course, doomed to failure. So they were rotating him out. Nussmeier was playing, but he was so fucking terrible. Winford Tubbs intercepted the ball in overtime against Warren Moon, and Ditka was like, you know what? We're not even running a play. Get out there and kick that 46-yard field goal, Doug Bryan. Like, that's the lack of confidence. They were like, they didn't even attempt to run the ball 3 times with Nussmeier. They're just like, nope, kicking the field goal. He was awful.
You know, I feel like Dave gets an automatic pass into the dome and doesn't have to pass a test based on his Junior Gillette detective work.
Yeah.
That should get him a lifetime pass.
Yeah, you just like you walk in with your cell phone and it's just a picture of the collage that you created. You're like, I'm in. They're like, yes, sir, come to the VIP area. The VIP area, right through. But you know, it's true. I don't want non-diehard fans in there if we're sitting every 4th seat. I don't want it, but I do like the idea of like a test or like hook you up to a lie detector. You probably have to get there. They probably have to start letting people real early into the dome if we're gonna run lie detector test or quizzes to get entry. But it's totally worth it. And since they're only gonna have 25,000 people in the dome, they got the time. So we talk about that. The main thing I want to talk about is I look around the NFL, and we've mentioned it a little bit, but man, I am full 100% committed. I placed a wager on the Saints over of 10.5 online at certain places. I believe, Andrew,
Win total.
the win total. I believe the
What happens?
coronavirus is going to help the Saints win the Super Bowl. I am 100% committed to this theory. If it blows up in my face, so be it. Now, look, it doesn't mean I'm happy the coronavirus is here. No. But I got to deal with the world as it is, not as I want it to be. I think the coronavirus is going to help the Saints a ton, and it is going to kill teams like Carolina and Tampa. There, I said it. Call me a jerk if you want, but I put big money on the over for the Saints for 10.5. Am I wrong?
Well, you're a jerk. You're a jerk, but you're absolutely right.
Wait. Now, what happens? What happens if the season is altered and they don't play 16 games? They play like 12 games or 13 games.
I
Like, what
don't
happens to
care.
your
I
bet?
don't care if they play 3 games, win a Lombardi, and we have Atlanta fans holding it over our heads forever on Twitter, mocking us for winning an illegitimate Super Bowl. I don't care. Get me the Lombardi. Put me in the encyclopedia for the NFL history records. I don't care. I'm good with it.
Wait, no, but as far as Ralph's bet is concerned, what
I
happens
think
in
they'd
that
have to
situation?
give you back. I think they'd have to
It's void.
refund
It's
the
voided.
ticket if they don't have a 16-game season.
It's not like you're betting 10 and a half over, and if they happen to only play 9 games, well then fuck you. Then you
What-
obviously lose your bet.
What if they only play 12 games, but they win 11?
Yeah, see that.
Because
Right.
See, I-
Vegas is gonna be like, no, it's null and void because
Right.
they didn't get 16, and
Right, right.
you'd have a good argument there, Ralph.
I think so. That's a great question. That's a great question, though, Dave. If they have degenerates in the chat room that read the fine print on that sort of thing, let us know.
I
I
would
think-
assume it's void. I would assume it's based only on a 16-game season.
What's the minimum amount of games you think they can have and still do a season? Like what's the lowest amount of
10.
games, Andrew,
Yeah.
they'll have and still have a season? And
9.
8 or
10.
10, yeah. 8 to 10.
yeah. But
I would say if you're setting the over/under, you set it at 9.
no, I think you'd set it at 8.5.
Okay, fine.
I think you need to
Which
get
is
to
9.
Yeah. Well, you can't. They don't want to. They don't want to push.
Well,
They want wins
I
or
know.
losses, right? So that's my thing, and I just look around this. I look around the league with teams breaking in new quarterbacks. I think, Andrew, the games at the beginning of the year with the abbreviated training camp or whatever they're going to have, I think teams like the Saints are going to have an advantage. But, man, I think we're going to see some shitty football the first 4 to 5 weeks. And it's been that way since they've sort of changed the rules, right, post-2011, where you can't do as much offseason. So teams kind of find their footing. I think we're going to see that even to a stronger degree this year. Now, we'll watch it and we'll love it because we'll be so desperate for sports. But I think the quality is going to be very, very poor.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You-
As long as it means wins. I'm all about the wins, man.
Did you guys see who won the bid to watch a football game with Roger Goodell? at
I
his
saw
game?
that.
Yes.
Do we want to talk about that?
I
you
do.
think that's going to happen?
I-
You think that they're going to follow through with that? I
No
bet they
chance.
don't.
No chance.
No chance.
'Cause they're
No chance.
pussies.
Because here's the thing, and I know a lot of people that listen to us, listen to Barstool, and Barstool, they do a lot of cool things. I don't listen. I listen to the Pardon My Take, which is one of their things, which is great. But they have a lot of that guy that runs them. He's worth a lot of money, and
David
granted, he's
Portnoy.
built a wonderful thing. But he is not what the NFL wants to be associated with as far as like women and different things. There is zero fucking chance that he watches a game with Goodell. There's more of a chance that Sean Payton comes on this podcast as a guest than Goodell and Dave Portnoy.
Well, he's already doing our open, so
He
we're
is.
halfway there.
Which allows me to segue to our next topic, how do we get Sean Payton on this podcast? I need tips. We need to brainstorm this. We need to workshop it. People in the live stream, on the chat, in the Discord. We need ideas. Dave, what should we do?
I think you saw it. I mean, I wanted to send him one of the 28-3 face masks.
Yeah, I think that's
I
good.
feel like if Peyton is going to be shopping at Whole Foods on Magazine, that he should at least be wearing a never forget 28-3 face mask. He didn't respond to that. I don't know if I have any good tips for getting him on. You know, the only thing I would say is the clock is ticking, because the only chance you're going to have him on is going to be in the off season
When he's got the quarantine. This is the only time.
Especially when he's stuck at home. Yeah.
When he's
Yeah,
stuck at home,
so
he's got quarantine fever.
the clock is ticking. You have
Although,
like a
although
month.
to someone who recovered from the coronavirus, does he even have to stay at home?
Oh, that's a
Like,
good
he's
question.
probably not feeling
Well, they haven't.
scared
They
about
have
getting
not,
it again.
Well, he's probably not, but they haven't. There's no proven research that says if you get it, you can't get it again.
And if you get it again, even if just because you've got it doesn't mean. Well, I guess if you can't get it again, you can't transmit it. I guess that would be true. But here's the thing: should we? Connor follows you, Andrew, right? Should we DM his kid? Try to go through his children back.
Yeah, I keep
Bugging him.
waffling on that one. Yeah, I don't know.
I
don't know.
think what I need to do is I need to talk to legitimate media people at Channel 4 that are connected to Peyton, like maybe Paulson. Well, not Paulson. He would never do that for me. But
I
maybe
think blackmail's our only shot.
yeah.
We gotta find some dirt on him. So I think that's the path. Patrons, if you can find some dirt on Sean Payton, I think
I mean,
blackmail.
I probably could if we really
Yeah.
wanted to do that. I could probably find that out.
Man, we need dirt, and we
Not that I'm going to.
if he goes on another Saints podcast, the one of like 9,000 Saints podcasts that they have now, if he goes on one of the fan podcasts and it's not us, I will be heartbroken, because I feel like
He's definitely not. He like he might be on. Does Duncan Holders? Do they still have their podcast?
They
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
That'll be the podcast he would go
He's
on.
been on that show before.
Yeah, with
He
pre-approved
might go.
questions.
I guess he'd go on with Underhill, but I'm talking about the non-legitimate media like us,
No.
where we just like
he would never.
a bunch of jagoffs.
Have you guys noticed that Delvin Bro will talk to anyone and everyone?
Yeah, I feel like that was one of our great misses, Andrew. We did a fantastic job with Joe Horn, and he got emotional, and we just sort of let him go. Delvin Bro, he wanted to vent, he wanted to spew anger, and we didn't.
Yeah, we kind of shut that shit down.
We
yeah.
didn't prod him enough. We should have egged him on, and he wanted to spew against Sean Payton so badly, and we whiffed on that. Like a lot of things with his podcast. We were that close to being great, and we just missed. So somebody says, tell him you're about to be the #1 podcast in Finland. Oh, by the way.
If we get Sean Payton on the show, we'll somehow drop like below 50 in Finland. I don't know.
Here's
the Finland thing, like, it defies logic. Like, the fact that we're top 10 for NFL podcasts in Finland, it's like, I just think if we ever did anything incredible, like, they would lose complete interest.
Here's the thing, though. We are number 56 in Sweden. We are number 172 in Canada. But here's where it gets really weird. We're number 13 in Malta. Now,
Yes.
I don't even know where the fuck Malta is. I'll be honest. But all you
Google it
people
right now.
Isn't it near Greece?
That sounds right.
I don't even know where it is. I couldn't pick Malta out on a map. Not gonna lie. But the fact that we're so highly rated there, if you're from Malta,
Malta is an archipelago in the central Mediterranean between Sicily and the North African coast. So it's probably fucking the most beautiful place in the fucking world.
Yeah, it's in between Italy and Greece.
so if you're from Malta, DM me with a legit Maltian address. Is that how you say it? Maltese address, and I will send you a care package thanking you for helping us be so popular
Look,
in Malta.
if you're gonna be stuck somewhere during the coronavirus, I mean, I'm just looking at pictures right now. Malta looks like being stuck in Malta listening to the Saints Happy Hour podcast is
Seems
maybe
amazing.
the greatest thing in life right now.
So, before we get to Twitter questions, which we have a lot. And by the way, check out our Twitter. I'm going to retweet it. Our Twitter question tweet that I did. People are just they DM'd me the wildest pictures about their favorite what Saints cornerback shows their physical state during the quarantine. It's amazing. I'm going to retweet it. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you guys. The Bird Rights is an awesome Pelican site. They have amazing content. It's almost time for the NBA draft. I know it's coming up. They've delayed it. They delayed the lottery, but they're still going to have a draft. And oh, by the way, it seems 1,000 years ago, but since the Pels.
The Pels got Zion, dude. They got Zion. They got Zion. Oh, I've never been this happy. Oh, this is great. They got Zion.
So you forgot about it, but remember, the Pelicans got a shit ton of draft picks from the Lakers and other things last year from trading down. The NBA draft's coming up. The Pelicans have a ton of assets. The Bird Rights, they have the mock drafts up. They have a podcast where they did a bunch of mock drafts. The Bird Calls. It's an awesome Pelicans podcast. It's the only one I listen to. Find it where you subscribe and get your podcast. Just search the Bird Calls. They're amazing. Support them because they're supporting us.
Wait, so how does the NBA draft work if they don't know, how the season ended? Are they just going by record when the
Well,
season
that's the
stopped?
thing, kind of like everything's on hold. They haven't even done the lottery yet. The lottery should be coming up soon, right? So they postponed that. But
They've given up on the season, right?
I would
Or
say
not yet.
I would say no. The thing is with the NBA, I think they're going to have some sort of tournament where they're just going to quarantine everybody in 2 hotels, and they're going to be like, we're going to play this out, and it's going to be like a single elimination or something like that, and it's going to be like March Madness, and they're going to do it with 30 teams. And it's going to be like 4 weeks, and I don't know if they're going to give them the Larry O'Brien trophy or whatever, but that's what I think it's going to be. They're going to just declare the Corona champion, and that's what it'll be. That's my prediction.
And so will they base the draft order on the results of that tournament?
I don't. That's a good question. I don't know. That's why you need to listen. That's why need to go to the Bird Rights every day. They'll probably be more up to date on NBA stuff than us, and listen to the Bird Calls podcast. This is a great question from JP. Should I plan on going to Denver, Dave, for the Saints game to get refreshments, even if fans are not allowed into the game?
Yeah, make a trip of it, man. No, I'm actually planning on. I'm hoping to go to the Vegas game. I really want to go. My buddy Brad's already booked.
You know how expensive it's going to be to get one of those tickets?
It's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, I do know. Especially, in particular, I think this is what you mean. Is it's their home opener. It's the first game for that stadium.
And if the crowd, even if they do allow fans, it's probably going to be limited. So now you're talking the Vegas home opener. Instead of 70,000, it's 20,000. On top of the risks of flying for Corona. And the thing that sucks most about the Vegas game, Dave, is that Vegas is AFC, so they're not playing again in Vegas until 2028. So that's why, for me, it was like, you got to go this year. And this before Corona, me and my wife were debating. I'm like, you don't understand. If you don't go to Vegas this year to see the Saints, we're not going again until 2028.
Right. but if you do go to Vegas, this is to address our viewer question. If you do go to Vegas, you can get refreshments in Nevada as well.
Yeah, you can. Andrew, we have an actual football question from Dale. The Saints couldn't get a conditional 7th round pick for Warford. What the fuck?
Oh, you mean like if they had traded during the draft? Yeah, I did think the timing was a little weird there, but I think ultimately his contract was such that teams knew it's like the minute you start shopping a guy, teams know you're going to cut him. So it's just like, do we want to give something up to make sure we get him, or do we want to take our chances? So I just think when you look at his contract, it was like $12 million, and nobody wants to pay him that. And that's just the way it rolls. So yeah, I think it would have been tough to get a pick for him just based on his contract. That's a pretty big barrier of entry. If someone's gonna pick him up, they want to sign him to a cap-friendly deal this year.
Yeah, the one guy, and it caused the Saints to get cursed, is Darren Sproles. They announced that they were going to cut him, and then teams were like, whoa. We want him. He's got a reasonable contract. Don't cut him. We'll trade for him. And the Saints changed their tune, and thus was born the Darren Sproles' wife Compton curse.
The Compton curse.
Yeah.
Are you saying once again the Saints were thwarted from making a terrible decision and wound up making a better decision? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying this again. It happens over and over. The Saints have fallen ass backwards.
How have we never realized this before? I mean, seriously, this is like this. I think this is a thing, and I don't think anybody's ever discussed this or realized this until now.
It started. Hell, Dave, they've been falling into good luck ever since Nick Saban decided he didn't want Drew Brees. Like, it's just been.
It's almost like Loomis thinks in his mind that he may as well be reckless because it can't go wrong.
To bring it back to Seinfeld, he's like Jerry Seinfeld. He's just it just always works out for him. He's like even Steven.
Well, what was the episode where George could say opposite? Do the whatever you think.
That's right. Loomis does the opposite of every. If every instinct Loomis has is wrong, then the opposite must be right.
I like this. I like this question from Saints Recline, even though I don't play video games. Question: if Madden 21 had coronavirus features, which features would you like to see, i.e. players randomly can't play due to the virus? I would like to see, like, Atlanta has a Rona outbreak, so they have even less crowd than normal, so they only have like 6 people in the stadium. Like, I think coronavirus features would be great. I think Madden should have coronavirus features. I think they should have players getting arrested features. They should go all out, but they don't.
If somehow Matt Ryan could get popped for performance-enhancing drugs and miss half a season on Madden, that would be terrific.
Jason just DM'd me a picture of his quarantine Saints cornerback appearance is toy cooked.
Nice.
I like that one, Jason.
Nice.
It's old school. If you're
the original toast.
He is if you talk about most hated Saints quarterbacks, you ask people probably 38 and over, Toy Cook is up there. As he might even be ahead of Jason David, maybe. And he was probably a better player than Jason David, but man, fans hated him.
See, Toy Cook made some plays though. For me, Fred Weary was really
Jason David made some interceptions too. He
Fred
also led the team in
Fred Weary's a
Toy
good one.
Toy Cook wasn't nearly as bad as Jason David. I mean, he got burned. I mean, he was called his name was Toast for a reason. Toy Cook. I think the main reason why Toy Cook just gets killed by Saints fans, it's the ones that remember the Flipper Anderson game. And that's
Robert
really
Massey
the one
both.
game where he just laid an egg.
He got
was Toy Cook statistically worse than a hole in the zone?
No chance.
No chance. That's the trump. That's the trump card for any argument for any Saints fans when you
That's right.
when you want to argue
That's right.
against Jason David being the worst.
That's right.
You just pull that out.
Wait, was it David or was it Browner though?
No, it was Jason David.
Yeah.
You're better off not putting an 11th player out there on defense at cornerback than you are with Jason David out there. Is basically what they're saying.
Yeah. So
I just remember
to
with
put it another
Browner,
way, Jason David playing out of position is better than Jason David playing in position.
my favorite the year that Brandon Browner was on the Saints was that the MVP that year in terms of highest quarterback rating was not Tom Brady. It was whoever was playing the Saints.
That's right.
The quarterback rating for opposing Saints quarterbacks was higher than the highest in the league.
Every
Individual
quarterback the Saints played, it was their best career game ever.
yeah, that's the Saints literally could get any quarterback a multi-million-dollar extension.
If you played fantasy football and you needed a streaming quarterback for 1 week while your regular starter was
I did that.
Yeah.
Did that. I remember I picked up like
whoever's playing this.
I picked up some garbage quarterback and he put up 50 points on the Saints.
Just
Probably David Carr.
Yeah.
Some shit like that.
So bad. So anyway, guys,
Doug
thanks.
Nussmeier probably would have put up 50 points on that.
Is there any quarterback that year that wasn't any good against the Saints, like randomly? That was just.
What year was that? What was that? That's 2016?
Yeah, what year was that, Ralph?
It was
15,
2016, yeah. So.
Let's pull this up. Let's eyeball these.
Let's
Let's get a quick look here.
Yeah.
All right, week 1 against the Raiders.
Carr was amazing.
Yeah, we got Carr with a rating of 98.5. So, very good, but not amazing. All right, week 2 against the Giants.
That's Manning.
Oh,
yeah,
that's probably awful.
Eli. We got Eli putting up 104.1.
Wow, that's a good game.
Yep. It's only going to get higher. Just you wait.
Wow.
I mean, these are some of the lowest. I feel
What's the touchdown?
All right,
interception?
Matt Ryan 113.2.
Oh,
How many touchdowns? How many interceptions?
We still don't have a pick yet. We're at 5 touchdowns, no picks.
Okay.
All right. San Diego, we've got Rivers at 93.3. That one wasn't as good. Now and he had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So it's 7-1 now. I'll tell you the touchdowns, interceptions.
Carolina,
Cam Newton, 83.8.
that's pretty bad.
2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Kansas City.
Are you sure this was the right year?
Yeah, I don't think it was. I think it was 2015. I think that might be
right.
Yeah, because
now,
that was
Alex Smith was one.
Yeah, that was the year, because that 2015 is the year Rob Ryan got canned against Washington. I think the only game
Browner's not on this roster yet.
I think the only games where like people were bad was like the Texans game because they had Hoyer and they didn't throw the ball that much. Like, or maybe that's probably it, man. Even Jacksonville, even against Jacksonville, I'm gonna look it up. I think Blake Bortles put up gigantic numbers against them. You know, now we've Blake Bortles 27 of 35, 368, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 124 rating. The Saints made Blake Bortles look amazing.
Oh my God, that's gotta be that has to be a career game for him.
All right, here we go. Here's the ratings. I got them all. Ready? 120, 122.8, 112, 119.3.
Which quarterbacks? No, wait. Which quarterbacks for these?
Oh, you want the quarterbacks?
Yeah.
No, I just want to know.
What's funny about it? Some
All
of
right,
these guys are terrible.
Carson Palmer lit us up.
Ugh,
Jameis Winston 112.
ugh.
Cam Newton 119. Dak Prescott, or was that Romo?
That was
Let's see, 20.
no,
was
that
Romo,
was
right?
that was Whedon.
Matt Castle. No, Whedon.
What did Whedon do against them?
Wait, was it really Whedon
Yeah,
against the Saints?
yeah.
Hold on, let's look. The Saints won, but yeah, it was Whedon, and he had 105.6.
Oh
Lit
my
us up.
God.
Lit us up. All right. Then Eagles, Falcons, Colts. There was a pretty good 3-game stretch there, all under 100.
Ooh,
And then you've
wow.
got Eli 136,
Wow.
Mariota 135.
That's got to be a career game for him too at that time.
Alex Smith, was it the Redskins? Is that Alex Smith? 156.
No, that's
Jesus,
Kirk
that's a
Cousins,
perfect game.
Redskins.
That was Cousins. You're right.
Yeah.
156. Cousins.
That's a perfect game.
That's
a perfect QB
perfect
rating.
is 158.3, but close enough.
Oh yeah.
Texans
Yeah, close.
106, Carolina 121, Lions 147, Jaguars 122, Falcons 102.
Jesus.
Wow, they're almost only 3 games are sub 100.
For the season, it was 4 games.
Wow.
My God.
Yeah.
That is
12 out of 16 games over 100.
As Sean Payton might say, my God, the defense. It's painful.
Yeah, if we pay him another $500, can he say the same thing about the 2015 defense?
Hey, we'll
And
submit
Browner,
it.
my God, Browner? Nobody wants to watch him.
So good. So, this podcast started slow,
Wait.
picked up steam, ended
yeah,
strong
wait.
with this.
Wait, we need to talk about Marshawn Lattimore's tweet to Jameis Winston.
Wait, I missed that. Explain it.
What? You didn't see that?
No, I didn't see that. Explain it to me.
Lattimore tweeted Jameis Winston. He said, I just want to be clear. We're on the same team now, so you're not throwing to me anymore, okay? I'm not a receiver. I'm a defensive back, and we're on the same team. You didn't
I mean, he
see
has
that?
completed. He did complete more passes to the Saints defensive backs than he did.
Right.
Tampa
So
was-
Lattimore wanted to
Yeah, but
make
Lattimore only has 1 pick against Winston in his career.
Yeah.
So, like, while I appreciate the joke, it's not like it's Rondé Barber and Aaron Brooks here. So 2015, the Saints gave up 43 touchdowns and had 9 interceptions for the
Good.
year.
Where would that season rank in NFL history?
Now do 2012.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
even Aaron Rodgers, the great, beloved, better than Drew Brees according to everyone, Aaron Rodgers couldn't stack up against this season.
No. Just remarkable, remarkable ineptitude by the Saints, and
All right, do 2012 now and do yardage. Total yardage given up. This is
Do we really want to go down this road?
this is like comparing the Battle of Antietam against the Battle of Gettysburg.
I mean,
it's just
do we really want to do this to fans? They're just suffering through the coronavirus
we need
right
the Ken Burns music in the background and the slow pan.
Yeah, like a banjo, a
Yeah, the
slowly
banjo in
playing
the back.
banjo,
No, I mean,
and some letters written from Saints players to their moms and dads, like.
I feel like
I have seen too much, Mom and Dad.
like what Captain Andrew Luck.
Playing defense for the Saints is a horror no man should have to go through.
Here's the
I
thing,
pray,
though.
I pray that my brother and sister are okay at home.
I feel like, Andrew, the
Can you
2000
imagine how much Breeze must have hated his defense back then?
He hated them so
I mean,
much.
you know, he's Mr. Positivity. He's never going to say anything bad publicly, but you know there were times he went home, laid down next to Brittany, and he just said, "Holy shit, this defense."
Holy shit! I put up 7 touchdowns and we barely fucking won this game. It took a miracle. I don't know what to do. Here's the thing, though. I think the 2015 defense is because the 2012 defense was so abominable. I think the 2015 defense sort of gets overlooked in its shittiness, and you just going through all the quarterback ratings reminds people we might need to have a bracket of shitty Saints defense.
Well, no. Here's the thing that I forgot to bring up. The Saints, Brandon Browner broke the record that year for number of penalties. And here's the crazy thing. Penalties don't benefit quarterback rating. So independent from those ridiculous stats, they also broke the record for most penalties ever. So my point is it's even more god-awful and even worse than you could possibly imagine.
How did they win 7 games?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. How did they win 7 games? I
mean, Dave, you're being kind of quiet. Are you just speechless?
I'm looking up how many yards they gave up each game on defense.
But do you understand that when you're committing a penalty, you're not giving up rating points or yards?
Yes.
What about
yes.
today?
That's measured separately.
Is today the worst day of your life? Yeah.
No, that's true. And you know what? Has anybody ever
So
done
it's
that?
like
Has
so
anybody ever?
Jersey or don't? It doesn't matter. Either way, they're scoring.
Right. But has anybody ever done that? Has anybody ever taken into account the penalty yards in 2015 and added it to the total yardage to see how it compares to 2012? I'm looking at 2012 numbers right now. They never gave up less. Oh, it got a little bit better. Not until late November did they give up less than 400 yards.
Well, there was that one game against the Bucks where they won. They shut them out.
I think we need to have a quarantine party. We need to watch the shutout of the Bucks from 2012. Somebody needs to find that on YouTube, or maybe I guess you could stream it.
Yeah,
through
but
Game Pass.
even in that game, they gave up 386 yards. They gave up less yards to Atlanta. They gave up 283 yards to Atlanta after Thanksgiving in late November. But I mean, it's 459, 463, 510, 421, 427, 513, 530,
Jesus.
447, 454, 404.
Jesus.
Then it gets better at 375, 283, 394, 386. Then it's back to 446, 530. They end the season with 530 yards to Carolina.
530. I think I've told this story a bunch of times, but I remember walking out of that last game in 2012. They played Carolina, and they just got housed.
Yeah.
And I remember my
530
mom
yards
is
they
like,
gave up.
they need to fire the defensive coordinator and fire everybody. And I was like, they just hired him. They can't start over. That'll make things just as hard. She's like, it can't be any worse. I was like, you got me there.
It's amazing that the Saints have a defense that's most yards and a defense that's most penalties and a defense that's highest opponent quarterback rating.
All in a 3-year span.
All three.
Yeah, just.
Jesus.
Well, this turned into a morbid podcast.
We should have a podcast that
Ralph,
it's
where's the dead body soundbite?
Oh, I don't know. I don't.
Playing that.
I don't have the. I don't have the death.
we need to compare 2012 to 2015. Which defense was truly worse?
Yeah, I think we need to have that. That needs to be a special off-season, like June podcast of drunk Saints history, where we all just get shit-faced and we're just comparing stats, or somebody can do like a super cut of all the defensive blunders, and it can be like 30 minutes long, and we can all just drink and watch it and laugh at it together. That's a good idea if people out in the chat room know how to do that. But this has been a lovely Sunday night. Thanks for joining us. Support us if you can. We always appreciate you get the best swag on earth. So for Dave, for Andrew, for Kevin who's MIA, until next week, the bar is closed.